AMN Drive Time is sponsored by Aishin, your trusted and reliable source for aftermarket automotive components and technology. Visit AishinAftermarket.com for more information.
Jeff, welcome to AMN Drive Time, sponsored by our friends at Aishin.
Hey Bill, thanks for having me. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
We're glad to have you here at our intergalactic headquarters in Akron, Ohio today. Very snowy day, first snow of the winter here.
Almost a blizzard.
Almost a blizzard. Some people would call it a blizzard.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So, Jeff, you're a graduate of Northwood's Automotive Aftermarket Management program.
Yeah.
How did you find the program, or did the program find you, and the aftermarket in the first place?
Yeah, you know, Bill, I did 4 years of vocational auto mechanics in high school, and I just got lucky one day, and I brought up to my vocational auto mechanics teacher that I wanted to be involved in cars. I told him that I didn't want to go to work in a dealership because I didn't think you made money unless you owned it. And at the time, I said I wasn't interested in being a technician because I wanted to work with people. And so he went out of his way, reached out to Northwood, and Northwood sent a representative down to our school at North Farmington High School and gave a full-blown presentation on what the aftermarket program was, what it was all about, the success of, you know, their basically 100% placement for many, many years. And it was really just a match made in heaven. I mean, it worked out to be exactly what I was looking for. Northwood was the only school that I applied to. And then, you know, I never looked back, and it was just the perfect opportunity to match me with the aftermarket. Hopefully I was good for the aftermarket as well, but then, you know, the school was everything I could have asked for. I mean, they really get you involved with the aftermarket industry immediately. I did an internship with Moog actually down in Houston, Texas. I did an internship in Toronto, Ontario with Cleveite Engine Parts with 5 fraternity brothers. So that was a good experience. I was going to Vegas. I went to Vegas 3 out of 4 years for Industry Week. And, you know, we'd get a lot of public speakers that would speak to the classes, and the school always made a point to have a couple students join them for dinner and things of that nature. So the combination of Northwood, the Northwood idea, how they immerse you into the industry as an 18-year-old freshman was just a good all-around experience that I'd never look back on. And then, you know, 30 years later, it's just been a great feeding ground for us. And so it wasn't just lucky for me, it's all the talented people and graduates in Northwood that we've hired have really worked out well for us.
Now, I have to ask, you still turn a wrench on occasion, or you don't do that anymore?
I do not turn a wrench on occasion anymore,
Okay.
but it was a nice way to get a good foundational understanding of the aftermarket for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, right out of school, you started working at Tenneco in 1992.
Yeah.
As a Walker exhaust territory manager in Detroit. You, of course, grew up in greater Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about your career trajectory, and this is always tough, and mentors that helped you along the way.
Yeah. I can quickly go through my career. I really don't love talking about myself that way, but in this instance, yeah, I started as a Walker rep. You know, I lived in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I covered South Central Michigan, Northern Ohio, Northern Indiana. Right out of school, and I did that for 3 years. And then actually, when I was 24, in 1995, I left Tenneco for a few years and owned 2 muffler shops, 2 successful muffler shops in Port Huron, Michigan. So I always viewed that as kind of my master's degree for the aftermarket. You know, I opened and closed every day, Monday through Saturday. Did all my own accounting on Sundays, and you know, it was just a good experience to understand what consumers were looking for, what our unique distribution network was like, and how we, you know, when we needed parts and how to get there, and just understanding the ultimate customer for all of us. So that was a good 3 years. But then in 1998, I decided, you know, I wanted to go back with a big public organization. And so I went back to work for Tenneco in 98. Pretty quickly relocated to Roanoke, Virginia, where I joined our retail team. And so I lived in Roanoke for 12 years for Tenneco. And, you know, every couple of years they just gave me a little bit more responsibility. So I went from having one retail account to then I had all of the retail accounts for Tenneco at the time. Then they gave me all the retail plus one traditional division. And then it came to 2010 where the organization gave me all of US and Canada. So that's when I needed to relocate back to Michigan, work out of our Monroe, Michigan office, because I ended up having the US and Canada sales team plus some folks in the office. So it was a good time to move back, which was home for me. So that was great. And then a few years later in 2014, that's when they really stepped forward, and that's when they made me vice president and general manager in North America. So that's when I kind of stepped away from the commercial side of things. That's when I had the full P&L responsibility for Monroe and Walker in North America. I had 7 manufacturing facilities and distribution centers, a couple of engineering centers, the headquarters in Monroe, Michigan, and so, I was overseeing 2,500 team members. So that was a good experience of really stepping away from the commercial side of things, understanding the operational side of things, and really understanding the cradle to grave of, solving for solutions, but also manufacturing high quality products and with a high order fill at a fair price and getting them to them when they need it. And so that was a good crash course for me. Then you step forward to 2018, and that's when we were buying Federal-Mogul. So when we were buying Federal-Mogul, that made our North American aftermarket business twice the size. They asked me to take what I learned on the operations side, take it back to my sweet spot, which is the commercial side of things. And that's when I went back onto the sales side of things to help gain back the hundreds of millions of dollars that the previous owners of Federal-Mogul didn't walk away from but lost with some conflicts in the marketplace between 2014 and 2018. So that was good to get back into sales. It was my comfort zone, and it was exciting to have a lot more brands to sell and to try to earn back some of that business. And then that's where we stand today. So today, I'm overseeing the U.S. and Canada sales for the combined business, and it's really been a great career path. I just love the Tenneco family. It's been a great family for years. We each know that we have each other's back in this organization, but they've been phenomenal for my family. Hopefully I've been able to give back to the folks at Tenneco for a good and fun career.
What a great aftermarket success story.
Thank you.
Terrific.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So you mentioned it, Tenneco acquired FM in 2018. And Tenneco created the all-aftermarket division of DRiV.
Correct.
Tell me about your experience with that transformational move and how it changed the company.
Yeah, and it was transformational. And especially for those of us in North America. So this was really my first exposure to large mergers and acquisitions and integrations and things of that nature. We had done smaller ones in the past, but this was a game changer because, like I said, it really doubled the size of our aftermarket footprint, and we went from basically having 2 primary brands and categories to, 31 brands and 7 primary categories. So it was complex, and it was exciting, but, it was purposeful on how we wanted it to be a merger and not an acquisition. It was purposeful that we really wanted half of the future organization to come from each side of the house, and that it was just a good all-around experience of integrating. But what I thought was exciting about it was our leadership and CEO at the time. He said, "Hey, we have an opportunity right now to basically have a multi-billion-dollar startup company. We're going to clean sheet this thing. We're going to build the staff structure, capabilities, product offerings for the future, and that we can do it from a clean sheet of paper." And so, that was exciting to know that you could totally start from scratch on how this future large business should look. And it was a good process for a small group of us to just, work on this thing day in and day out for a couple months, but spit out what we wanted the future to look like. And And what I thought was educational to me was, Tenneco, we always thought we were a great company, but, Federal-Mogul was a great company too. And that as we were pushing these two companies together and bringing in the knowledge base from both sides of both organizations, we really found we had a lot of best practices in both organizations. We didn't have to look very far to benchmark what good could look like. And so as we were putting this organization together, it felt right. It felt new. It felt like Federal-Mogul had done a lot of acquisitions in the past, and they said they all still weren't integrated. Well, they were kind of looking for new leadership. And so they really came into the fold pretty quick, and that we acted like one organization pretty quickly. And that I think because it was a 50-50 split, 50-50 merger, two good solid companies bringing best practices and lessons learned from both sides, it I think was a real success story in a lot of ways for those few years.
It sounds very complementary in terms of the way they fit together.
Yeah. Absolutely, I would agree with that.
That doesn't always happen in these mergers and acquisitions. That's more the exception than the rule. Fair statement,
correct,
right?
Yeah, and I think that's what I learned from my colleagues from the Federal-Mogul side is that, when you just try to tuck a company into another organization, there's some pushback there.
Right.
When it was a true 50-50, we both have a voice here,
yep.
I think it made it that much more successful.
So about a year ago, as our audience knows, I'm sure, Tenneco was acquired by Apollo, private equity firm. And you're a little over a year in now. What has changed, and what's the future look like?
Yeah, for starters, what I would say is for the last year under Apollo, they acquired us November 17th of last year. It's been a phenomenal year for the organization and Tenneco and DRiV. It's been a really good experience. I think, private equity firms kind of have an MO on how they acquire companies, and the research that I did and the reality I'm seeing with Apollo is this is a kind of organization you want to buy your company. So they really take a good hard look at leadership teams and future growth strategies and understand when they were undercapitalized, how they can invest in those leadership teams and expect a good return on investment as they move forward. And that's really what they've done with us. They've been very open-minded to where we thought we had growth opportunities in the past that might have been underfunded. They've stepped up in a variety of ways that have just had a real positive outlook for our customers. And that's what I appreciate the most. They are extremely customer focused. They know growth is going to come from happy customers that just want to do more business with you. And they put their money where their mouth is. So, a couple things that they've done that, in my opinion, were real game changers for customer benefit is, for one, they structurally changed us. They took a quick look at our organization, made a quick judgment that we were a little top heavy and didn't have enough feet on the street that's working belly to belly with customers, delivering our messages with our brands. And so, and they really wanted us to be quicker at decision making. We're a big company, and that can take time when you're, approval by committee type thing. But in general, they restructured things. Case in point is, the staff that runs the Americas was a staff of 14. It was quickly a staff of 7. And so it really streamlined decision making. So the example of that is really my responsibility. I used to just have the sales side of things for the combined business. Now I have the sales, customer service, sales operations, forecasting and demand planning. And it really just comes down to everything that touches a customer besides a delivery truck. It's a yes or no answer for me. So they drastically raise delegation of authority. They say, you're the one facing the customer. You need to have authority to make decisions in meetings, and boom, let's move forward. You know what it's going to take and how it impacts the company financially. And so we did that, whether it's plants, distribution centers, or product, you got, one primary decision maker and a large delegation of authority to just do what's right. So structurally, really streamline the business. We're making much faster decisions. We're making decisions faster than the customers expect. I think we've been pretty nimble that way in the last year. I think the other thing is this true customer-back mentality of, hey, talk to customers, visit customers, see what they need, understand the solutions they're looking for, and then supply them. And so, when you look at some of the basics, our order fill, we are not stopping until our order fill is consistently over 95% in all brands, all categories. It's a relentless focus. Our order fill has improved by over 20% since they bought us. It's 11 months in a row of improvement. All product lines are shipping in the 90s currently that we just showed our customers in Vegas. Order fill, you got to have the parts to have success. Being a full line supplier with our premium brands, last couple of years, we consistently did a couple hundred new product introductions. Game changer. Like we hired the engineers, hired the supply chain folks. We are a full line supplier. It's what our customers expect for our premium brands. And 27 new product introductions this year, 2,700 new product introductions this year, 37 on the docket, 3,700 new product introductions for next year. We're playing a little bit of catch up, but the ultimate goal is we are a full line supplier going forward in all of our categories. And, they are putting millions of dollars into our plants for the long-term future of our business. And that, and it's focused on quality controls, automation, long-term growth capacity, and just basic maintenance for a foundational business. And so whether it's putting multi-million-dollar tube mills in there, multiple robotic welders into our Walker plants, vision systems and automation systems into our Prairie Gould, Arkansas facility, or just doing the basic maintenance like, a new roof and a new HVAC system on a 1 million+ square foot facility in Skokie, Illinois, which was long overdue. But, the experience with Apollo has been phenomenal. I love that they're so customer focused. And that they care about the long-term success of this organization, but they do expect, payback on these investments, and so that's up to us to deliver that.
Listening to that sounds very impressive, and it sounds like a lot of great blocking and tackling.
It's not a very complex business we're in, and I think a lot of times people really try to overthink it.
Yep.
But good quality parts at a fair price when they need it is pretty simple, and it's harder to do than just saying it. But in general, at least we're not overthinking it.
It's not complicated, but it's not easy.
Right.
Your fill rate, congratulations, right?
It feels
fill rate's
really good.
an issue in the marketplace, and it sounds like you guys are really doing a great job there.
Yeah, and that is one of the other benefits of being a North American manufacturer. We got good control of our supply chain. We still manufacture the vast majority of our products in North America, and that feels good when there's so many uncertainties out there about what's going on overseas. Yep. I mean, it's going to be hard to predict what the supply chain is going to be like here in 3, 6, 9 months, but I like the control that we have with our multiple manufacturing facilities over here.
So, Jeff, under DRiV, you have some historic and clearly iconic brands: Walker, Monroe, Fel-Pro, Wagner, Moog, Champion, the list goes on. Mm-hmm. Tell us about the strategic direction of the individual brands. You don't need to talk about all of them necessarily. You got 31 different brands, but just kind of the highlights, the ones that you'd like to, and their staying power, and how about the whole EV thing? We talked about it earlier when we were doing our little tour.
Yeah, well, a couple things on that. For one, we've had a little bit of a change in direction, as in our previous ownership used to think, we know that there's a market out there for better, best approach or some private label, having a big part of the marketplace today, but we are in the premium branded business. But a little shift that we've gone through recently under Apollo is that the previous owners were like, hey, any private label expansion degrades the value of your brands. And it was that cut and dry. Under our new ownership, there's a little bit of a more open-minded approach to, hey, yeah, we're a premium branded house, but there also are opportunities where a better best approach or a private label complementing a branded program can be good, especially when you think of the addressable market side of things, where, you know, our addressable market when we were so strict and only in the branded categories, you know, was shrinking, even though we see a long future, to answer your question, in the growth of the premium branded side of things. So what I like is that now we are having different conversations with customers about when there's a strategic opportunity where, you know, maybe a DRiV manufactured private label program can complement the growth of our branded program as well, and that, you know, it's a win-win for the customer. So that conversation's changed in the last year from some of the conversations we've had in years past. But when I think of our future with our premium brands, yeah, we are a full-line supplier. We have high demand for our branded products. What's interesting is, you know, we have these categories like Fel-Pro gaskets. Fel-Pro gaskets, you know, we have a very strong market share in that space. We plan on that continuing to grow. It's actually been a great category throughout the pandemic that kind of changed some behaviors in the marketplace. But when you think of Fel-Pro and their simple approach to these gaskets are built for the repair environment, you know, when you are doing a gasket job on an engine that's got hundreds of thousands of miles on it, you don't want that gasket to be like OE, because that block is not like OE anymore. There's flaws in that. And so, you know, we take great pride in that category, and it's just a highly demanded product for its brand and what it delivers to the consumer. You take Moog, for instance. Moog is a hero category in the last couple of years. It has staying power as a requested brand from the technician. The simple problem solver that put it on the map for so many years. We're reinvigorating that and really putting a lot of engineering focus on, you know, how can we upgrade from OE where there's an early failure item on the OE part. And, you know, we are launching Moog into more new customers in the last year than any other product line, and they're strictly doing it out of technician demand. So that's great. And then another small example would be Walker. Walker's a good, strong brand for us. Simple message, it fits like OE because it is OE. And, you know, we do billions of dollars in the Walker Clean Air OE business. We share a campus in Grass Lake, Michigan. Our engineers are in the same facility as our OE engineers, and we do the testing equipment on all the same, you know, OE testing equipment. But what I like is the linkage and the visibility of, you know, the OE engineers are quoting platforms out 3, 4, 5 years. So we have the visibility of what's going to be needed in the aftermarket 8 to 10 years ahead of time before you need it in the aftermarket. So that type of knowledge base and link where it does make a difference to have that link to OE is a difference that can be felt by the technician. And so I feel really good about it. So to answer your question, yes, our brands are strong. Our strategy is unchanged. We are a premium branded house that you know, hopefully continues to grow moving forward. And we're very proud of that, backed up by the fact that we are a manufacturer and that we manufacture the vast majority of our parts in North America. That type of control should give our customers confidence that we're predictable and they know what they're going to get in the box.
When I started in the business in the mid-'80s, people use the term basic a lot. Were you around for that? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
You don't hear it much anymore, if ever. But basic meant you are a manufacturer of the product.
Yeah.
And it meant something.
Yeah, and I think it means something today, and it does for us. There are certain categories that we're not basic in, but there's some other benefits and some unique categories for that. But in general, where we have plants that roll in a few coils of steel a day and we slit it and we roll it into muffler cans or tubing and spit out finished goods, I like the consistency by having that type of control.
Jeff, going to change gears just a little bit. You've been on the University Aftermarket Foundation Board for an extended period, and you certainly serve as the trustee for DRiV.
Yeah.
DRiV became the first UAF Emerald Lifetime Trustee. What have you felt is the importance of giving back to the industry in such a meaningful, substantial way?
Yeah, I feel strongly about giving back, and you can give back in a lot of different ways, but on one side of things, I feel we got to give back because of how good this industry has been for our family and our families within our organization. But the second part of that, interest in giving back is I'm a little worried about our future as an industry, and that we have some things in front of us that whether it's the technician shortage, if we don't get control of that, I think that could be a real problem going forward for us, especially our competitiveness of the independent aftermarket against the OE dealers. I think some people underestimate, I think we talk about technician shortage, but I really look at it as a skilled trades competition. And that, what I'm concerned about is I think there's threats to all the skilled trades, and that whether you're in the HVAC business, if you're a plumber, if you're an electrician, or if you're an automotive service provider, and that, in my opinion, we keep looking at just the service provider competition and getting more people in our industry. I'm worried one of these other industries that have the same problem of a shortage of skilled trades figures out the right formula to attract. I think that's a common audience, and that if one of these other industries figures it out before we do, we're going to be on the short end of the stick there. So that's why, yes, I'm a big fan of the University of the Aftermarket scholarship program, of getting a large quantity of young folks into our industry. But it's also why I'm a big fan and supporter of Northwood University, of getting a different group of audience of young talent into our industry. I'm a huge fan and supporter of Yang. I think that fraternity and family feeling of common early career folks in our industry that will have more reason to stay loyal to this industry. And then the whole skilled trades tech schools, Garage Gurus. DRiV's Garage Gurus are very involved in the tech schools around the country, and in a variety of ways, whether it's training or support or helping them with curriculums or whatnot. But the more involvement DRiV and Garage Gurus can give back to those trade schools, it's just going to help us as we can try to attract more people to our industry, because we're not just competing in this industry, and I think we're underestimating the impact of that.
So, Jeff, it is tradition on AMN Drive Time to have a lightning round.
Okay.
And if you've seen these before, then you know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
So I'm going to ask you a few questions. You're going to give me an answer.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You're sure?
Bring it on.
Stick shift or automatic?
Stick shift.
Sports car or lifted truck?
Sports car. What
position do you play in hockey?
Defense.
What's your favorite way to get a good workout?
Playing hockey. It's the only way. I don't work out anymore.
What song gets you pumped up?
Oh, I'd say Eminem on the way to hockey.
Who's the best hockey player in the league today?
Wow. That is a great question. I'm going to still run with Sidney Crosby. You want to put a team around them.
What has been your most memorable bottle of red wine?
Memorable bottle. That is another good question.
Or how about where were you?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think my most memorable bottle of wine is in Napa with a specific customer at my favorite winery. Yeah.
Well, what winery?
DRiV's.
Oh, I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
Last question. Favorite place to visit in Scotland?
St. Andrews for sure.
Me too.
Yeah.
Great to have you on AMN Drive Time, sponsored by Aishin.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it very much. Enjoyed the day.
AMN Drive Time is sponsored by Aishin, your trusted and reliable source for aftermarket automotive components and technology. Visit aishinaftermarket.com for more information.